Al-Mahdi Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajul Sharif is through promoting the values of Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is the only Shia television network that broadcasts globally in 5 different languages: Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and English. We are appealing to the lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam worldwide to support the channel such that it may continue its global operations. Imam Hussein Media Group is seeking 1,000 partners to pledge to a £14 contribution per month. This will allow the channel to sustain its operating costs as we continue to spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in multiple languages across the globe. You be a part of this great legacy and donate today. You can pledge in 2 ways. www.imamhussein3.tv/donate will take you direct to our donation page where you can pledge monthly. Or you can call or WhatsApp us on 0044 793 9917163. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We're taking your questions. If you have any questions in regards to Islamic law, please send them via the WhatsApp, the email address. Give us a call 0203 515 0199. If you're watching via YouTube or you're watching on Facebook Live, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah the technical team will be able to send me your questions on my iPad here, and inshallah I'll be able to ask and discuss your questions. I'm your host Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'as. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah, fine.
Sheikhna, before we begin, let us send our condolences to the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his parents, and also to the Muslim Ummah on the tragic death anniversary, the istishhad of Sayyidah Zaynab sallallahu alayha, the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali alayhi salam, whose birthday we were celebrating just a couple of days ago. Sheikhna, Sayyidah Zaynab sallallahu alayha is probably one of the most remembered and most honored figures when it comes to the females in Islam. Not only that she is the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali, but also she is the daughter of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, and was a very, very pivotal character when it comes to the story of Karbala. Sheikhna, could you please enlighten us a little bit on the legacy of Sayyidah Zaynab sallallahu alayha?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. Indeed, the statement of Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam towards Zaynab alayhi salam, that أنت بحمد الله عالمة غير معلمة وفهمة غير مفهمة, that is what suffice, this shahada and witness from Imam al-Ma'soom alayhi salam to the great status of this lady, in which she has been given the knowledge of the unseen, like other saints and great individuals, in which the Imam says that she has been given عالمة غير معلمة, knowledge without being taught. That's for itself is a great means that such a lady, salamullah alayha, to reach this stage and eventually participate in supporting her brother Al-Hussein alayhi salam in Ashura and the aftermath of Ashura, and the sacrifice that she also offered in captivity all the way from Karbala to Sham. In a narration narrated by from Jibreel alayhi salam, that when Zaynab salamullah alayha, when she was born, Jibreel came and informed the Holy Prophet ﷺ on what will be happening on Zaynab alayhi salam. Like when Imam Hussein was born, also Jibreel came and informed Rasulullah ﷺ about the events of Karbala. And in both cases, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he cried. So Jibreel telling the Holy Prophet ﷺ about the calamity of Zaynab alayhi salam in Karbala. The hadith says, when the Holy Prophet heard this news, of course he cried, and he said, "Man baka ala masa'ib hadhihi al-bint," the one who cries on the calamity of this girl, newly born child. See how the similarities between Imam Hussein's birth and Zaynab, that he both cried on both individuals when they were born. Man baka ala masa'ib hadhihi al-bint, the one who cries on the calamity of this girl, kana kaman baka ala akhawayha al-Hasan wal-Hussein alayhim salam, was like the one who had cried or cries on her two brothers, Al-Hasan and Hussein alayhim salam. So crying on Zaynab is like crying on Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein salam alayhim. This hadith is in Awalim al-Ulum by the Al-Bahrani Asfahani. So we can see how she gained this status that crying on her is equal to crying on Al-Hasan and Hussein alayhim salam. فَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَجْمَعِينَ.
Ahsan, thank you very much, Sheikh. Just a quick reminder to all our viewers that this is a live show, so send in your questions via the WhatsApp email address. Give us a call if you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube. Put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. Sheikh, we've got some questions already coming in from some viewers. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Can one recite Surah Fatiha quietly in Maghrib prayer if they are in a public multi-faith room in order not to disturb others?
No, the mandatory is to recite Surah Al-Hamd and the short surah afterwards aloud for Maghrib, Isha and the morning Fajr prayer. Even if you are in a quiet room in a place, you have to recite it. You don't have to shout or scream. It's just a bit loud.
With a little bit of volume.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you don't have to worry about who's around you.
Okay.
Unless if you can find other places to pray, if you're causing nuisance or disturb it, so then you just try change the place of
No
salah.
worries. Thank you, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
As-salam.
What's the opinion on Ibn Abbas, the one who is cursed in our hadith?
Ibn Abbas, we have different opinions about him. Some praised him and some reject him. So it depends to the research.
Doesn't he have a, is he the one with the hadith?
Yes,
There's a tafsir,
yes.
sorry, there's a tafsir, no?
Yeah, Ibn Abbas, yeah. Habr al-Umm, as they say.
Yeah.
The son of Abbas. The Abbasids,
The uncle of
in which
Rasulullah.
the lineage is through him,
Yeah,
through his, I think, son or grandson Ali.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Shaykhna, if one speculates that the verdict of a fatwa may change, is it necessary for him to investigate? Let's, with the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khorasani.
Yeah, the respected Sheikh mentions that one can continue acting upon the fatwa which is available now in the, let's say, website or the book of Risala Amaliyah, as long as he doesn't know and he's not certain that it's been changed. And the one doesn't need to go and research to find out if this mas'ala has been changed or not, because you have thousands of masail. Who has the time to search about every mas'ala that now this Ayatollah has changed his opinion about this mas'ala? So you just keep continuing, following this marja' in terms of this mas'ala until they would announce in somehow in their website, in their newly published Risala Amaliyah, and then of course you change the hukum, the verdict upon acting upon this mas'ala.
Sheikh, is it permissible to copy, sell or publish books without the permission of its author or publisher?
One should basically seek the permission from the owner or the author as an obligatory precaution, because these are all rights of individuals, copyrights. You cannot breach that copyright. and use it for yourself.
Sheikh, now some questions coming in from our viewers. Can one do mut'ah, temporary marriage, with a prostitute?
We mentioned many times that it is severely discouraged, and as mentioned before, Ayatollah Sistani says if one wants to get married to such individual, she must repent first before marrying. So it's not really encouraged at all. One should avoid this type of marriages, and of course seek the one who is pure and tahir in this regard.
Sheikhna, is it okay if I do tayammum instead of wudu if the water is far from me? For example, it takes me 3 hours to go get water. I have to drive 3 hours to get water and then bring it back and so forth.
Well, it's your duty to get water for wudu. We have in the ahkam about the one who is in the middle of the desert and he hasn't got water. He needs to go and search 4 sides and so forth to find the water. So otherwise, the one basically, if there is really unable to reach water, then of course we can switch to tayammum. But if there's a possibility, then you have to do this journey and go and get the water. It's not to do with distance. It's to do how difficult it is to get the water. The anwan of, we mentioned one of the conditions of tayammum, that there's no water in that place at all. In this case, of course, you can switch to tayammum. But if there's water, it's just a matter of time, journey. Well, you have to do your best to get the water for wudu.
Sheikhna, if someone has collected some items such as metal cans, plastics and other waste dumps for the purpose of selling them and stayed for more than 1 year, are these included in the khums according to his eminence, Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Bashir al-Najafi?
The Sheikh mentioned, yes, khumus is wajib on these items because now these items are no longer garbage. They now have some kind of value, recycling value, and the recycling business now is a multi-billion or million dollars or pounds of worth of business. So yes, you have to pay khumus on them.
I see, understood. Sheikh, questions coming in from our viewers. What is the ruling on having foods that contain gelatin?
If the gelatin is from an animal which was not slaughtered according to the halal criterion, then of course that gelatin is najis and haram to consume. Yes, unless it's vegetarian, one is certain that it has been transformed chemically, istihala, to something else. Otherwise it remains najis and haram to consume until the one is sure that it's halal to consume.
Are collyrium and rings among the exceptions in Sharia? In other words, is it permissible to wear in front of mahram men? These are the aqiq and so forth, the aqiq and also those other rings that most Shia wear. Is it, am I allowed to wear this in front of mahram men?
Whatever known to be as zina and beautification is not allowed.
Okay.
So it depends. Sometimes some maraja might allow, like aqiq ring, but in overall, they would say if it's, in general, if it's known to be as zina, beautification for women, then it's not allowed.
Sheikhna, when do men enter the state of janaba?
When there's ejaculation, basically. Now through the dream.
So it's not doing penetration, it's ejaculation.
Yes, indeed. Even the penetration itself would cause janaba, even if there's no ejaculation.
Okay.
So just the seconds of penetration would cause janaba.
Okay.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Excellent. Sheikhna, is marriage nullified when the bride is pregnant at the time of nikah? This was a question from Monday, I believe, which we said we'll do some research on it. So yes, Sheikhna, is a marriage nullified when the bride is pregnant at the time of nikah?
Yes, if the husband basically divorces his pregnant wife during her pregnancy, and of course she remains in iddah while she's pregnant, she cannot get married at all. So she waits until the baby is being born. She's delivered. Then after delivering the baby, of course, she can get married after the...
Straight away, or does she have to wait another iddah period?
No, the idda ends by the minute the baby is born.
Okay.
خلاص,
Okay.
idda is finished.
I see.
Because she cannot get married while she is in her pregnancy, because that is a idda period.
I see.
And if she do so, the aqd is batil. The nikah contract is batil and invalid.
I see.
She must wait until the baby has been delivered.
I see. No problem. Sheikhna, I think there's another question that was unanswered. There are some drama series which promote and encourage illicit, forbidden, haram relations. Is it permissible to watch them in accordance with the opinion of the Grand Ayatollah, His Eminence Ayatollah Sistani?
The Sayyid mentions that watching the movies which have some kind of influential, morally, lustfully on the individuals, it's not permissible. And also as a mandatory precaution, احتياط وجوبي or لزومي, he would also say that, the Sayyid says that watching movies which has indecent scenes, as we know, let's say in the bed or some movements على كل حال, on the beach, for example, all these scenes are haram to be watched. It could be just a few seconds in a movie, in a full movie. So he would say you're not allowed to watch that movie because you're going to be exposed to seeing haram scenes as a result. So as a precaution, avoid watching such movies.
I see. Wow. Sheikhna, if when wiping the head, the fingertips touch the forehead or the face water mixes with the hand water, is it satisfactory to wipe the upper side of the foot with the palm of the hand with which the face water has not mixed? So when we're doing mas'ah, let's say for my fingertip, it touches a bit of my forehead, but I use my palm to do mas'ah instead, this part here. Is that sufficient? Because the water hasn't really mixed, has it?
Yes, it is fine. The one can do so.
Oh, lovely. Sheikhna, a question from one of our viewers. A long one. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna and Sayyid Mohsin. Walaikum salam. At present, I'm living in Germany for the purpose of study, and I live with 4 friends in the same house. I would like you to give me some advice about how to deal with them, because they watch bad movies and they listen to music most of the time. When the time for prayer comes, they ignore it even if I pray in front of them, or tell me that I'm going to the mosque, so that they cannot pretend that they do not know. Sometimes I encourage them to watch lectures and Islamic videos, but they watch cartoons, so that I will not bother them or object to them watching television. How can I help them, because I feel guilty about them and I want to help them? Also, when they do listen to these musics out loud and I cannot do anything about it, does the haram count for me too?
Well, initially, we've been advised to stay with those who are not religious, as Muslims, as believers, those who do not practice the Islamic rulings, to be in touch with them, in which they might be, inshallah, guided in somehow.
That's a good point you put, because I was assuming these people weren't Muslim. So I'm not sure if they're Muslim or not. If whoever sent this question, if you let us know, because if they're Muslim, then there's one way to deal with them. If they're not Muslim, then obviously there's another way to deal with them. But sorry, Sheikh, please continue.
Yeah, so basically one can be with them, advise them all the time, billati hiya ahsan, using the best and the logical methods, and encourage them for the good deeds. Prophet Nuh, he I think spent over hundreds of years in I think 950 years to guide his people.
Yeah,
and only 80 joined the ark, I think. So it is a very struggling situation, but you have to make sure that if you can change them, well, yeah, try your best, stay with them, do your best. Of course, avoid the haram. If it's a bad movie, you have to go to your room, separate from them. If it's the music, don't listen. You just keep yourself busy with other works. Don't listen to the music as well. And basically, if you feel that you're going to be affected by them, you might one day, take things easy and even become one of them. La samahallah, of course you have to depart them and leave them in this case.
I see.
Yeah.
So try and lead by example. Sheikh, another question from we'll do the YouTube one first because it'll be a lot quicker. Then we'll do the WhatsApp one. How many times dhikr in ruku should be done, which is most recommended? I think it's once is wajib and 3 times is mustahab. No, Sheikhna?
Yeah, well, you can say Subhana Rabbil Azim wa bihamdah once, or 3 times, or 5 times, or 7 times. So, the even odd numbers.
Okay, question from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.
I just recently had my nikah in the past June. Congratulations. But actually, wedding will not take place until March because my husband is studying in a different state. When he comes and visits, my parents get very upset if I spend too much time with him. They say it is inappropriate. They are constantly watching what we do. They get upset if I go out with him and come home late. My question is, what does Islam have to say about parents interfering in their child's marriage? I respect my parents, but yet they do not seem to respect my privacy. Am I being unreasonable? Any information that you can give to this matter will be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Sheikh, it does say here, I'm going to read it again. I recently had my nikah this past June. So this sister is married to this brother. Obviously, he's in another state. He's working, studying, whatever he's doing. Comes to visit his wife, spend time with his wife. Unfortunately, in-laws are getting a bit too much involved. Islamically, Sheikhna, what is the hukum here?
Indeed, they are now halal to each other, so they can enjoy themselves and
spend
talk
time
and
together.
spend more time together. That's fine, inside, outside the house. However, they have to, or she needs to please her parents as well in the other place. So it could be a good idea to get a Maulana involved, or somebody who's, community leader, for example, to inform and to talk to the parents that Shari'i-wise, they are allowed, as long as it's just to do with, meeting with each other, talking.
Maybe they feel that, if there's any physical relations, that's inappropriate because she's still living under her father's roof. I mean, could they, book a hotel or something? Or maybe when he comes, he can take her for 2-3 days. They can spend time alone, away from everyone, and then he can return his wife back to her house.
I mean, these physical acts are halal. Now she is basically a wife of this individual. Of course, the wedding issue is something else, but they have the right, to be in that intimate and romantic and so forth. They have the right to be there, to build that relationship of a couple in a halal way. But as I've said, they have to find out who is available around to talk to them, to the parents, especially if somebody who in a religious position that this is halal. Let them, know each other more, because the more they meet, the more they know each other. La samhallah, if something went wrong before the wedding, at least they can, la samhallah, separate, sooner than if they got married and children, and then things would go in the worst case. So I think they have to talk to somebody who can be influential on their parents.
Inshallah. Sheikh, I have a question from one of our viewers. I think it's WhatsApp. What are the areas where both qada of fast and kafara become obligatory?
Well, that's inshallah
Long
discussion of month of Ramadan. Inshallah, we'll go into details about. We have one kafara, and sometimes you have 3 kafara. Kafara to jami' is where when you break your fast with haram, na'udhu billah. If somebody breaks his fast intentionally with alcohol, na'udhu billah. Kafara to jami', all the kafarat. Or is it just breaking your fast with, let's say, drink halal food, for example, or water and so forth, which is one kafar, and so forth. Inshallah, in the whole month of Ramadan, we'll go, inshallah, into more detail.
Inshallah. Sheikh, another question here. This one's from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum. My non-Muslim friend has asked me a question. God has created all living things, so why is it that we Muslims cannot eat certain animals, specifically all different fish and sea creatures?
Of course, when Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator, the musharri', the legislator, when he says to us that this is haram, this is halal, he knows very well that this is for the benefit of the human being. Today we see that we get lots of advices from the medics that, don't eat this specific food or let's say type of fish or animal, there is such and such disadvantage or side effect, for example. So Allah Azza wa Jal is the wise, in which He knows that if we eat pork, there's going to be consequences as a result. If we drink alcohol, na'udhu billah, we will lose our mind. And Allah brought us to use our mind and aql and intellect all the time. Because if you get drunk, you can't think, you can't plan. So Allah is wise when He prohibits those types of food and drink for our benefit in this world, before the hereafter. Let alone the akhirah and paradise. For this world, see how many deaths are caused by the drink driving, and so forth.
Sheikh, another question here from YouTube. If a Hindu accepts Islam for nikah and after nikah he goes back to his religion, then what about the marriage? Is the nikah still valid?
You see, we have to see the type of irtidad. Is it actually because of somebody caused this individual to leave Islam, for example, or was it from the beginning a planned issue? Ala kulli hal, if he goes back to his own religion, genuinely, of course, the nikah will be not accepted anymore. She can't stay with this individual. He's now Hindu or mushrik ba'd khalas. She can't remain with him.
Okay, fair enough. Sheikh, now we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue answering your questions here on Ahkam SOS.
Imam?
Welcome back to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. This is a live show. We do take in your questions, and mashallah, loads of you have been sending in your questions. If you'd like to send a question on any topic whatsoever, it can be about marriage, it could be about finances, it could be about cooking, it could be about traveling, whatever topic you'd like to ask, please send in your questions via WhatsApp, email address. Give us a call here, 0203 515 0199. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, send your questions in the comment section. We don't need to know your name or where you're calling for or you're asking from or anything like that. Just give us your question anonymously, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss and answer your questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, I've got more questions there coming in from viewers. This is one from WhatsApp, I believe. What is the Islamic law about tattoos? Do they affect the wudu and ghusl? And is it permissible for women to get her eyebrows tattooed?
I think we answered this question before, that for the ladies it's the beautification, zina, it is not permissible. And as a tattoo, if it's not a barrier on the skin, it actually is injected under the skin, that should be fine for the ghusl and wudu. There's no issue with it.
Okay. Sheikhna, a question here from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Thank you for your hard work and time. I live in Bulgaria and in a European country. Public baths are built with certain considerations. Whether or not it is in the direction of Qibla is not one of their considerations, unlike the situation in Muslim countries. Number one, is it permissible for us to use such facilities if we do not know where the direction of the Qibla is? Second, and if we know the baths do face the direction of the Qibla, is it permissible for us to use them? If it is not permissible, what is the solution? Now, public bath, I'm assuming she means, or he means, public toilet, because if it's a bath, it doesn't matter which direction you're facing. But it's actually when you're going to toilet, whether you're going to relieve yourself, number one, or number two, you cannot face directly in front or have the Qibla direction behind. Sheikhna, what do we do when we're not sure? And secondly, if we do know, what do we do in those situations?
I mean, you have to try to find out if the toilet is towards the Qibla initially, because it's not permissible to relieve oneself towards the Qibla. Secondly, if one's toilet is towards the Qibla, of course they have to either sit to the right or to the left side. They have to change their position, their body position, the whole body position to the left or to right. Mm-hmm. Or if they can position the toilets,
okay,
the seat, the whole seat to the right or to the left.
I see. Excellent. Sheikh, now, do you remember we asked about if a Hindu converts to Islam, gets married, and if he converts back? The person's now asking, then what about the children? What happens to the children?
The children usually, they remain Muslims because they follow one of the parents, if they are Muslim. So they remain Muslim.
Okay. Is the father still responsible to pay and stuff like that? Are they still? Does he have to do his duties?
If he's mushrik, if he's now not part of the Islam, how can you expect him to pay?
Okay, fair enough. So he should, but he's not. Is the ahkam is not wajib on him because he's not Muslim anymore?
I mean, he's departed Islam now.
Oh, I see.
But anyhow, the one should go back to the marja to ask for these details, because sometimes there could be some kind of ways in which one can gain more help in this regard.
Sheikh, can we prostrate on loose soil or mattress or pillow while praying?
Praying on the loose soil or mattress or pillows, because the one loses stability. In this case, one cannot pray on these surfaces where they're bouncy. You have to pray on a solid surface without moving, without shaking, without bouncing, on a solid hard floor, for example, in which it doesn't move, it doesn't bounces. Otherwise, there's a problem with the salah if one prays on such stuff. Yeah.
Sheikh, now let's go to our Shia Plus video, and inshallah we will to help our shabab this week.
Oh no, there's background music in this video. Is it halal for me to carry on watching?
There you go, young Yasser there watching something on online, and yes, the music does come up online sometimes, whether it's in a movie, in a cartoon, in an advertisement. Sheikh, in these situations, assuming that this is not music of entertainment, this is music with like background noise, background music, are you still allowed to watch or listen to that sort of music?
Listening to music in overall, according to some ulama, all types of music is haram and forbidden. According to others, as you mentioned, if the music is not entertaining or amusement or like the ones in which used in nightclubs and discos and other places, if it's just normal music, that is allowed. So it depends really on the type of the music and the one who follows the marja.
Sheikh, can we prostrate on loose? Oh, we've done that one. When performing wudu, is it permissible to lift up the foot when wiping it?
Yes, it is permissible to lift the foot and do the wiping, but you have to make sure that your hand wipes and not by moving your leg.
Okay.
Exactly. You
so
have
don't
to
move the foot, you have to move the hand. The hand has to wipe. Interesting. Sheikhna, is it permissible to perform wudu is it permissible to perform wudu, or is it valid if the hair of the head is wet?
You see, the wiping locations, be it on the head or the feet, they must be all dry. But if there's a bit of moist on the head or the feet, and the moist and the wetness of the hand is more than the moist of the head, then it should be fine.
Okay. Sheikh, some questions coming in from YouTube. A girl commits zina and gives birth to a child, and the relatives, like the older brother and the mother, decide to throw the child, meaning get rid of the child. Is such act permissible with the child?
You see, على كل حال, the one basically should have some kind of humanity, insaniya in this case, and try to face the consequence and the responsibility. So throwing the child or causing anxiety and even sometimes oppression against the girl and what she did, of course that was a haram act, but you cannot punish in this way by separating between this child and this girl. So best thing, they want to go back to the Ahkam SOS to see what can be done as a result.
Okay. Another one from YouTube, Sheikhna. Is it permissible to add the names of the Ma'soomeen as tattoos without the intention of disrespect, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Hussein Shirazi, Hafidullah?
In overall, one should not do so. In overall, one should avoid those sacred names on his body, especially when he is in a state of janaba, for example.
I see.
One should avoid them.
Another one from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
As-salam.
Is there a valid marriage when a bride is pregnant at the time of nikah? And what about the baby? Will he be legitimate or illegitimate? Sheikh, you mentioned before that the iddah period for the thing with a lady who's pregnant, she has to first give birth to the child and then she's allowed to get married and so forth. But what about the boy? Will it be legitimate or illegitimate?
Basically, we have to answer the first question, that is it allowed to get married to the one who is in her pregnancy? I think that was the question on Monday. Yeah, initially, if the first husband divorces his wife while she's pregnant, she has to remain in her iddah, of course, as mentioned before, and that is the pregnancy period. And until she gives birth to the child, of course, now she can get married after the giving birth. The iddah ends when the child is born. Then they can get married, as mentioned before. Of course, I mean, if the child doesn't belong to the father, then of course that is an issue, in which was born out of wedlock, for example. Na'udhu billah.
Sheikh, more questions coming in. Assalamu alaikum. How do we go about selecting the most knowledgeable marja after the passing of the current marja you follow?
You have to ask those, let's say in Hawza, the ulama, the mulanas who have got in touch with the reps of the maraja to find who is a'lam, who is most knowledgeable, and then you can select the one you think he's the right individual with the most knowledge, and you can follow them.
Another question, I think it's on WhatsApp. Nowadays, it is not feasible to divide hadi into 3 shares. Or was it hadiya probably, into 3 shares? Even the authorities prevent the owner of hadi to eat from it. Similarly, they prevent distribution of hadi on the poor and the believers. What should one do?
The question is not clear, so I can't answer.
Hadi, okay. If whoever asked that question, could you send it in? Maybe the spelling isn't correct, it's been changed, so if you could send that in again. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. From WhatsApp, what is the ruling on sex change operations, gender reassignment surgery in the case of necessity? For example, if a child is born and has genitalia that does not match his gender and it is possible to surgically reconstruct it, what is the ruling if the child grows up and becomes transgendered and thus cannot get married? And this is on the basis of medical evidence on which doctors are agreed, but social standards reject the surgery, and this sex change operation is for the sake of medical treatment.
I think we mentioned before that we have narration with this regard, that if somebody has this issue of both gender, for example, signs of both gender, then of course they can choose which one inclines to which. So if one inclines to being a male or a female, then they can choose one of them, and of course they can get married afterwards, the opposite gender. So it depends really the condition of that individual, as mentioned, necessity to do that operation because of this condition. So very strict rule for that. You can't just change your gender because you don't like your current gender, for example.
Sheikh, when was Surah 555 and about, was it revealed? Was it to the Ummah or about someone in particular? Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 55, I believe, is from Facebook, is in regards to Amir al-Mu'mineen doing sujood and giving charity away in ruku, which is referred to Amir al-Mu'mineen and so forth. Sheikh, do you have, would you know when it was revealed, and in particularly, was it revealed for the Ummah or was it for one particular person?
When the Imam ﷺ was in the mosque and a poor man came asking for some help, the Imam was in his ruku'. So when he saw this man asking and begging, the Imam stretched his hand and he gave his ring to this individual to basically sell it and get something out of it, a few money. So yes, this ayah is for the Imam alayhi salam, revealed upon this fadila. Of course, some others tried to copy Imam alayhi salam. They gave the rings and so forth, but never any ayah revealed on them, because that was not for the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, to get that fame and reputation that we also have some kind of revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal, some verses, but they failed.
Sheikhna, Assalamu alaikum. Was there any objection raised on the language of the Quran during the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, saying that the language was harsh?
I haven't heard such a thing.
Neither have I. I think the language was actually quite common, I believe, because of the poetry at the time and the richness of the Arabic language. I think a lot of at the time, a lot of the Meccans and the people of Arabia understood it quite straightforward. Sheikhna, Assalamu alaikum. Why is owning slaves now haram? Is it haram? Has the ruling changed?
The slavery is no longer available. In the time of the Ma'soom alayhi salam, yes, they used to deal with the slaves.
Yes.
But now, in terms of buying, selling, we don't have any more slaves in this time. And if there is, we have to see how we can deal with them, because you have to go back to the Ahkam SOS to see how can you deal with that slave.
We have clear laws in regards to slaves.
Exactly, we have chapters of full chapters of in fiqh about the rules of the slaves in that time. Now we don't have any slaves. So
the other thing to mention to a lot of the viewers, because they're not aware that slavery in the time of Rasulullah was different to the slavery that we grew up learning in Black history and so forth like that. Slaves at that time, they were treated a little bit better. They had rights, they were paid, they had days off and things like that. Things were a lot different. That's why Islam hadn't abolished or fully spoke against slavery, whereas there was a lot of leniency, there was a lot pushing towards, if you've committed a sin, rather than paying the kafara or the penalty, free a slave. If you can't do your fast, free a slave. If you can't do it, free a slave, free a slave. It was really, really encouraged and endorsed. So that's something that you need to take into consideration in terms of the context of slavery at the time of Islam. Sheikhna, how can one convert to Shia Islam from Sunni? I am getting so much hate from people online and my own family, besides my own mother who says she doesn't care. So someone's converted from Shia to Sunni and is getting a lot of hate. How can one convert to Shia Islam from Sunni? Well, Sheikhna, don't you think that the majority of those from the other schools of thought that have come to the school of Ahlul Bayt is from research, from history?
Exactly.
Let's take from your own experiences. From stories you've heard or people you've met and conversations you've had, what is the main point that changes or helps influence people to adopt the path of the Ahlul Bayt?
Discovering the truth that the haqq is with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. As the hadith says, al-haqqu ma Ali wa Ali ma al-haqq. So when they discover that the haqq is with those individuals, of course, the one would change his direction and route towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam.
Okay. From YouTube, I think. I now see what Shia deal with and I'm sick to my stomach. I feel like I've been blinded my whole life and wondered why so many Muslims were hypocrites. It made me so mad. I am harsh with Abu Bakr. Okay, that's not a question, but thank you for your comment. Salam Sayyid, wa alaikum salam, and salam Sheikhna. How detailed is the questioning on the Day of Judgment and in the grave?
It depends on the individual and his acts and deeds. Of course, the more rewards, the more good deeds, the more hasanat, the more piety, the faster it is in terms of the hisab. We have some individuals that they would be resurrected from their graves towards the paradise without hisab. يحشرون من دون حساب, من غير حساب. And of course, we have some people who would stay thousands of years, let's say, for their hisab because of their bad deeds are more than their good deeds, and so forth. There's حقوق الناس, people's rights, and so forth.
Sheikh, the last question, and it's coming from one of our viewers. Salams, when a Muslim dies, the soul is taken away by an angel of death, then returned in the grave. To my understanding, then, question and answer, etc. To my understanding, okay, the question is, what happens when kafir dies, example, a Hindu, as they are cremated? How and what happens in their case?
Of course, I mean, there are different issues with those who die as non-Muslims. We have those who are stubborn and mu'anid and jahid, those who know the haqq and they ignore it, like Muawiyah, Yazid and others, in which they would be severely punished before they depart this world. Their ruh will be taken in a severe way. We have a narration with regards to how the ruh of the kafir is taken in a very difficult and horrifying way by the Malak al-Maut. And then you have those who don't know the haqq, don't know the right path. Of course, they will be kept until the Day of Judgment, and on the Day of Judgment they will be examined and tested because they passed away without knowing the haqq. They were ignorant, they were ala kulli hal, never saw or seen the right path. So they will be judged on the Day of Judgment, tested. If they pass, they will join the mu'minin in the paradise. If they fail, they go to hellfire. Na'udhu billah.
Sheikhna, thank you so much for all your efforts and the research you do. A lot goes in. You guys don't get to see it, but I do because Sheikh sits next to me in the office and I see him non-stop researching, reading books and so forth. So thank you so much, Sheikhna, for all your efforts. And thank you to all the viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. So sorry if you sent in a question and we didn't get to answer it. Inshallah, we'll be able to answer it on next episode, which will be on the 3rd of March. Yes, we're going to have a little break here at Ahkam SOS. And inshallah, we'll return on Wednesday, the 3rd of March for a brand new episode, inshallah. In the meantime, if there's any questions you'd like to ask, and it can be on any topic, please send them in via the WhatsApp, the email address, give us a call. And if you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section. Inshallah, we'll be able to answer those questions. We do have a TikTok account. So for you guys who have TikTok, please add us at Ahkam SOS, and we have different material, specific material just for our TikTok followers, and we are very interactive, so sometimes we also respond and reply to the questions you put in the comment section. Inshallah, you guys can do that and support us, and inshallah we'll see you again on Ahkam SOS. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
IHDRF is proud to announce the launch of its app, Sadaqah. Sadaqah is a modern, easy, and interactive way for you to pay your charity. Your Sadaqah can be transferred instantly and directly start helping orphans. Furthermore, you can donate to different projects such as clothing orphans, supplying clean water, heating fuel for the winter, and feeding the hungry. When you pay your Sadaqah, it will be used to feed, clothe, and school orphans. Our app is accessible via the App Store and Google Play Store. Download today and pay your sadaqah.
We all have a duty towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work towards the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajul sharif is through promoting the values of Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is the only Shia television network that broadcasts globally in 5 different languages: Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and English. We are appealing to the lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam worldwide to support the channel such that it may continue its global operations. Imam Hussein Media Group is seeking 1,000 partners to pledge to a £14 contribution per month. This will allow the channel to sustain its operating costs as we continue to spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in multiple languages across the globe. You be a part of this great legacy and donate today. You can pledge in 2 ways. www.imamhussein3.tv/donate will take you direct to our donation page where you can pledge monthly. Or you can call or WhatsApp us on 0044 793 9917163. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.